what happens when you find out someone has a similar core value with you? Your guess is as good as mine. You feel more comfortable making them your friend. You see, finding out things about people has a way of endearing you to them.
Yeah.
In this video, we're going to give you 5 tips on how to unlock love, whether it's your married partner, your relationship partner, or someone you're considering making your partner.
So, hey, Stalwart fam, welcome back to our channel. My name
Welcome
is
back.
Faith.
My name is Michael.
And we are
The
Stalwart
Stalwart Lovers.
Lovers. Woo! If you're new here, we are glad you came. Please make sure you watch this video to the end. If it blesses you, I'm sure it will. Please share it with everyone that you think it will be helpful to. Drop a lovely comment below, like it, yeah, and come along with us. The first tip is engaging in deep conversations. It's so important to talk. Both of us advocate for talking.
Yes.
We love to talk. We tell you a lot that sometimes the rift you're feeling between both of you, the gap and the distance you're feeling, is because you're not talking enough.
Yes.
And one very powerful way to discover people's core values, discover what they believe in, what they value, what their value systems are, is by having thorough conversations.
Yes.
Like what? Just train a scenario out there. How would the person interact with that scenario? How would the person, interact with what you just told them? What values and what ideologies would come out and surface in those conversations? It is when you have deep conversations, when you have long talks, when you talk a lot, that's when those things come out. I mean, I think we're still going to talk about the topic of talking stage because we've been hearing a lot of things lately.
Oh my God.
A lot of disturbing things, because these days it looks like talking stages. Oh yeah, people are saying I love you, people are acting like they're dating. No, when you're talking to someone, let's just take for example, when you're observing the person, to even think about going into a relationship with that person, how do you get to know them? How do you get to know their core values? How do you get to agree to go into a relationship with them? By talking. Yes, there's a place of course praying, and that's another topic, praying about the person and discovering God's will for your life concerning that person. But then apart from the prayers and everything, you also need to have those conversations with them. Those deep conversations help you really drill deep and dig deep into that person's mind.
Yeah, I think it's in those conversations that you find out really what goes on in their brain.
Yeah.
And there is just a limit to how someone can deceive you. You see, some people are very good with words. Somehow they know the right answers to give you. But if you throw them in a circumstance,
A scenario
where they have to interact, their true colors will play out. A good example, you hear about the Hakimi story, right? Where he divorced his wife and the wife realized that
all his money
was in his mom's name.
Yeah.
You could just play that scenario, to a prospective partner and see what they say. If he says, that's a very smart man.
I think I'm going to do that.
He doesn't even need to say he thinks he's going to do that. You think Hakimi was smart? Then I know your type. Then I know your type. Maybe you see a movie and you're like, oh, I saw this scene in the movie. You just played the scenario and just see how they respond. I use that on you. Back in the day when I was still in NYSC and there was this question that was going on around me then.
I know.
I just called her. We were still talking. We're just talking, and of course.
But we had probably just started talking for like 2 weeks
yes,
at that time.
But I knew that I was investigating you. If I would ask you into a relationship, it's because I was sure I wanted to marry you, all things being equal. Anyway, we'll talk about talking stage later. And I posed a question to you, and the way you answered, endeared me to you. I was like, no. If this girl is not my wife, God, you better have someone much better than this girl for me. Because like I said, when you know someone, if you know something about someone, when you see some common values, some core values, it just endears you to the person.
Yeah.
And so even if you're in marriage and you're trying to get to know your partner better, have
Talk
deep,
more.
meaningful conversations. Don't just say, have the children eaten? Have you paid the bills? Have you paid their school fees and all those things? No, talk about real things. Sit down and talk. Just keep talking. It's going to help you a lot and help you to know your partner better.
Yeah.
In addition to that, which would be another point, would be to observe their actions and their choices. Now, first we said talk to them.
Yeah.
Now, this time around, observe them. When you go out, observe how they treat people that are of a lower social class to them.
Yeah.
Observe the choices that they make in their life. When they have a difficult time at work, how they respond to it, right? How do they respond to tough challenges, tough times? What are the choices that they make? Check if they are a spendthrift, for example. You will know their
Financial
actions with
choices.
money. Yeah, financial choices. Find out what they do when they don't have money and how they react when they have money. You know, for example, if a man is all about money, you find him constantly looking for a get rich quick opportunity. You find him always talking about a business idea that's going to make him so wealthy almost overnight. People like that would gamble your life savings away when they think that they will make money. And so these are the things you get to know. So some information you know helps you to be more endeared towards the person. Some information you know helps you to know that you should
It's
what?
time to run.
It's time to run away. And so watch them. Take careful note of their actions and of their choices.
Yeah, and also, observe how they treat people, how they treat their parents, how they treat their family members, how they treat, of course, as you said earlier, people of lower status, the waiter, the gate man, the server, people that seem lower than him or her, just check. Their actions would speak louder than their words. Yes, we talked about having deep conversations, but then apart from even the conversations, their actions would show, and those actions you need to be very observant, pay very keen attention to them.
Yes.
Yeah. Another thing to note is that you need to discuss your future goals. So I'm not saying share every single thing that you want to be in the future, talk about all your plans, and that is for like maybe someone that you're just observing, that you want to enter into a relationship with. Don't talk about everything, but you also need to have an extent, a level of talking about your future. Paint the picture. Okay, what kind of career, what kind of life do you see yourself having, and how do I play a role in that? How could I maybe possibly play a role in that picture? Because, okay, let's take for example, somebody sees himself being called into ministry as a pastor and all that, and you see yourself, or let's say as a pastor in Nigeria, and you see yourself as a doctor in Canada or in the UK or something like that, that doesn't align, right? So talking about your future shows your core values. It shows what you believe in. It
And your
shows
direction.
your direction, the direction for your life. And it is very important to know the direction a person is going. Yes, they may not have everything all figured out, but there would be a direction. There would be
Yes.
somewhere they are headed somehow.
Yes.
Things could change slightly from that. Things could, deviate a little from that. But then there would be something, there'll be a particular direction. And this helps you to just know how you would fit in, how you would fit into their future, how you fit into their lives. And this also helps to bond, right?
Yes.
Because you are expressing, your future, you're expressing how you see yourself, and this kind of helps you both of you kind of connect on that level, right?
I think that's so important. And like you talked about people who are like maybe deciding if they want to go into a relationship. But for people who are married or in a relationship, like you said, it helps your bonding. I remember how a lot of the times back in the day, we would just sit down and daydream.
Daydream about
and
the
just
future.
talk about the future.
Oh, it was always so. I loved talking about the future.
Oh God.
Like I can talk about the future for days.
We did that a lot.
A lot, because the images just they
It
just
was
help.
beautiful.
They're just
And
beautiful.
sometimes, so we talk about the future, we talk about our wedding day, we
Mm-hmm.
talk about where we're going to travel to, we talk about,
At that
relocating
time, we're thinking of
to
relocating, so
Canada. We'll
we
talk
would
about
daydream and
the
talk
day
and
the day
talk.
we finally land in Canada. We'll just start I'm going to wear a very thick winter jacket, this and that. And we were just single guys in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But this helped us bond.
Mm-hmm. Now
Something
we're
we
in a
always did as
relationship,
well
yeah.
was talk about how we met. That
Yes.
was so sweet. I think
Yeah.
this is a good hack for married people and people in relationships. If you want to bond again, talk about how you met, say it from your story, say it from the other person's story, and just remember the butterflies you had that made you decide that I think there's something about this person that's special.
Yeah, and also talk about those things, just as you said, talk about those things that excite you about the future. Talk
Yes.
about those things that excite you. It just makes you have that hope that yes,
Hmm.
we are going somewhere, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's so
it's
important.
beautiful.
All
Mm-hmm.
right, another point, and I think this is a little sensitive, but I'll give you the balance, and that is talk about past experiences. So we had mentioned talking about deep stuff and having deep conversations, like a scenario-based kind of questioning, but
Mm-hmm.
this is different. This is bringing in the person into your past life. And now, when I say past life, depending on the phase of the relationship, there's some things you that might not be necessary to talk about.
Yep.
So I'm not saying you tell someone who you just met and you're trying to find out if there is something there about all your dirty past, and maybe if you had, some child abuses, or even if when you were much younger before you met the Lord, you were like
All the way.
all the way to the left. You don't have to do that. But you see, bring them into your life. So where you went to for your kindergarten, your what's primary school here abroad,
Elementary school, middle
elementary school,
school,
middle school,
high
high school,
school.
nice experiences that happened in the past. There's something that it does to you. It makes people see how you grew up, the kind of
Yeah.
home you grew up in, and also helps them to know whether the person you're talking to has some trauma they've not dealt with, or some trauma they have dealt with, and you can ask, "Oh, how did you deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
What changed about your perspective?
Yeah.
Oh, who are you before, and how have you changed? Oh, you used
Yeah.
to be, an unbeliever, and you believed a lot of wrong things. When I was much younger, this is funny. If you ever come at me with this, hey, I used to believe that, if you're a man and you have a lot of money, you should be promiscuous. You should have a lot of women. That's strange, right? Yes, I used to believe that. I remember when I was in SS1, my friends and I were talking about this, and I think I was just 11 or 12 years then. And I literally told them, oh, yes, when I am older and I'm rich, I'm going to carry a lot of women. And that was just shaped by the kind of neighborhood I grew up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I unlearned that when I grew up, I became an adult and
Mm-hmm.
I knew the Lord. So my values changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you realize this kind of things, you just understand that, wow, you're coming from a lot. When I see someone who has made mistakes
Mm-hmm.
and they know what they have learned about the mistakes that they've made, honestly, it just makes me more empathetic to them. It makes me understand that yes, you've grown,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just it. So that, and it's easy to work with someone who has a terrible past when they've really grown past their past. And I
Yeah.
don't mean to, no
And
pun
past and
intended.
past doesn't need to be all the dirty past or whatever,
Yes,
whatever.
it
I mean,
doesn't.
talk about where you grew up. Oh, this was the city I grew up in. This was where I used to go to eat. This was where we used to go to have fun. This
Yeah.
was where my family and I would go to and stuff like that. This was the norm in my family. This was our family tradition,
Yes.
and things
I
like
remember
that.
when I took you all the way to where I grew up, and then you took me all the way to where you grew up from Google Earth.
Oh yeah, for Google
And we were
Earth,
just
yeah.
zooming through Google to look at the pictures, and they were so nostalgic. I think it's just so beautiful to experience these things. And
Yeah.
so, talk about these things. Go back to your past and,
Mm-hmm.
relive the moments with them and be vulnerable with your married partner or your partner in relationship. It just helps you to bond. You can unlock some type of emotion, some kind of love in doing those things. Now, lastly, explore conflict resolution styles. Whether you're trying to know someone or you're already in a relationship and you're trying to be closer with your partner, talk about how you guys will resolve conflicts when you have disagreements. All right, explore it. All right, when you have an issue, study how they react to it, they relate to the issue, and discuss it. Tell them, okay, why don't you try a new style this time around? Okay, maybe you're married. Okay, let's try this style. When I'm talking, there's this couple that I heard of. They'll hold the pillow, and whoever has a pillow is the one that's going to talk. And so I'm going to hold the pillow and I'm going to talk. And when it's time for you to talk, you ask for the pillow and I'll give you the pillow and then you talk. So you don't talk over each other. If you're not in a relationship, all you have to do is to be observing when there's an issue, or you ask them, when you have an issue with your sister, how do you resolve it? These are behavioral questions that, even in interviews,
and they just
ask.
flow, like you don't. It
Exactly.
doesn't even need to be obvious. You
Don't
do it
don't
sneakishly.
don't sound like an interviewer, all right? Just explore it. When both of you really have a conflict of ideas,
Yeah.
disagreement,
Yeah.
how did they navigate it? You're studying. If you now find a common ground, you love them more. If you find a strong dissonance, well, you probably know what to do. So I think these are the important things. A lot more to be said, but we just wanted to make this episode short and concise so that you can get the benefit in it once and for all.
Yeah, and just to wrap this up, right? The truth is that these points and these things we've talked about would help you relate with the person you're talking to, especially for people that are observing and praying about someone and talking to the person.
Yeah.
It helps you to just observe them. It helps you to see their values. Sometimes you could actually talk about values that don't align necessarily, but with a teachable and an open heart, this person might actually be able to change. But there are some values that are deep, like you should.
The red flag is deep. Is blood flag.
Yeah. So while these points could help you unlock love, they could also help you open your eyes to know who you shouldn't fall in love with.
Yeah.
Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a like. I hope you did. Give it a like. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you think and share this episode with everyone that you know around you that you think would benefit from it. So till we come again,
keep loving
and keep believing.
We are the Stalwart lovers.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.